Welcome to the Services Plus File Validation Errors and Warnings Process Training module of the Fast Catalog Platform, or FCP. In this module, we will discuss: what is the Services Plus File Validation process? Avoiding common errors. How to read the validation error file and remediate. How to read warnings and either remediate or accept. What is the Services Plus File Validation process? The Services Plus File Validation process is made up of 4 stages. Data validations, which validate that required fields have data and that the data is in the correct format. Business rules, which validate that specific calculations are correct or conditionally required fields are entered. Warnings, which are informational and generate when pricing does not follow standard convention. Advanced business rules, which compares submitted data against additional business rules that may be required based on the vendor's contract. Note, these validation stages happen sequentially. If a data validation or business rule error occurs, the vendor needs to fix these errors in the Services Plus file and resubmit the file in FCP. This does not apply to warnings. Warnings are informational and can be kept or fixed, while data validations and business rule errors must always be fixed. Resubmitting the file always restarts the file validation process with Stage 1, data validation. Warnings are informational and do not have to be addressed to continue. Vendors can opt to address or continue with warnings. Avoiding common errors. To avoid unnecessary validation errors, follow these guidelines. Use only Microsoft Excel to edit the Services Plus file. Google Sheets is not compatible and will receive errors. Do not upload a services and training price proposal template. The Services Plus file replaces the PPT in the FCP. Always download the Services Plus file template or last approved Services Plus file directly from FCP, rather than opening and editing a previous Services Plus file from your hard drive. The Services Plus file template is a living document that undergoes updates. Uploading an older version of the Services Plus file may generate errors. Do not list the same Service Plus offering in multiple open catalog actions. The FCP application uses the UCID to identify unique line items. Thoroughly read the column instructional text and the README tab to ensure data is entered correctly. Pay special attention to columns G through N, which lists each catalog item type and their field requirements. Required means the field must contain a value. Optional means FCP will accept data in the field, but it is not required. Conditional means the field is conditionally required. For example, if most favored customer pricing is required on the condition that the vendor is a non-TDR vendor. Not accepted means the field must be left empty for that item type. For calculated pricing fields, FCP uses the value that displays in the cell for the basis of the FCP expected value. If you have pricing that exceeds the number of decimals that displays, then either update the cell value to align with the display, or use a formula that rounds the values according to the display, like the formula shown on screen for the price offered to GSA excluding IFF. During the baseline services action, use the pricing from the most recent PPT to the maximum extent possible. Do not paste data into a cell with a drop-down menu. Fields with a drop-down menu are restricted to specific allowed values. If you accidentally replace a cell with a drop-down menu, in the same column find an empty cell further down that still contains the drop-down menu, then copy and paste. When entering out your pricing, these requirements apply. Pricing for your current contract year through the end of the current contract period. If the contract is in the last year of the option period, then pricing for the current year and the next option period are required. If you are unsure what year your contract is in, see the FCP Catalog Overview page. View contract period information in the right side panel. How to read the validation error file and remediate. If there is an error in the submission, FCP sends an email notification to the user that submitted the action, displays an error report in the action page, updates the FCP action status to requires vendor action pending vendor upload. Download and view the error report. The error file contains the following information: the row that contains the error, the column name that contains the error, the data submitted by the vendor that the system is not accepting. If FCP produces a business rule error or warning, then the error type column displays the distinction between the two. Last, the error message that describes the error. Edit the services plus file and re-upload to FCP. Once the file passes the third and final validation stage, then the FCP action begins the file submission to EMOD. How to read warnings and either remediate or accept. If there is a warning in the submission, FCP lists the warning in an error file with an error type of warning. Warnings are informational and generate if the pricing does not align with the following conventions. Most favored customer price is expected to be less than the commercial price. GSA price is expected to be less than the commercial price. GSA price is expected to be less than the most favored customer price. An out-year price is expected to increase over the previous year by the EPA rate. If any of these conventions are not met, an informational warning will be generated. If there are business rule errors also generated, then those display in the same error file. The user must address the business rule errors and resubmit. If only warnings are generated, then the FCP action displays the following options. Keep and submit with warnings. Replace with new files. To address the warnings, select Replace with new files. This allows you to upload a revised services plus file and resubmit through the validation process. To keep the warnings, select Keep and Submit with Warnings. This will submit the originally submitted services plus file to EMOD. During the file submission process to EMOD, FCP adds a new Warnings tab in the Services Plus file. This concludes the Services Plus file validation errors and warnings video. To learn more, we recommend watching other videos in the FCP Services How-To video series. For additional help, contact the Vendor Support Center.